From the heart of Tiger Nation, this is where the insiders talk. Real stories, real access, and the pulse of Memphis athletics. You're tuned on beat with BCM. Now, let's get to the show.
Much better intro this time around from Kenny. Welcome to episode 2 of On Beat with BCM, or really, this could be officially considered the true debut episode of On Beat with BCM, because we now have the full official crew of who you're going to see here each and every week on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. I'm Memphis Tigers men's basketball beat reporter for Bluff City Media, Roman Cleary, and I'm joined by our women's basketball beat reporter, Shemaria Wiseman, and the newest member of the crew, our football insider, Sam Shoemaker. How y'all doing?
I'm great. I'm ready to talk some ball and some football. I'm ready to talk some basketball and some football today.
Yes, Sam.
I'm ready. I'm excited to be here for sure. I think this has been a long time coming to finally hop on a show with y'all, and I think this show could be something special. You know, three talented young journalists with good access, and I think we're here to tell the stories of the city. So I'm excited.
Yeah, for those who tuned in last week, you got the rundown of what I'm all about, what Shemaria is all about. But Sam, this is your first time on, so just give us a little bit of the rundown about who you are, what you do, and your history with Memphis Tigers sports media and things of that nature.
Dude, that could be a long story, but short version, I'm a second-year student at the University of Memphis. Been doing this since high school, and me and Roman actually, I guess I kind of got started under Roman, essentially, back at Tiger Blueprint back in the day, and then I was formerly with On3, broke a couple big stories, just finished up an internship with the Daily Memphian, loved it, and now I'm able to continue the storytelling here at Bluff City Media, and that's me. And I from Memphis, born and raised here, and I love the city, and I love telling the stories that are in the city. I'm excited to do that going forward.
Well, Sam, we are certainly excited to have you on the show with us, not just tonight, but moving forward. And we do have a lot to discuss. We'll start things off in my neck of the woods in just a second with men's basketball going to Ole Miss in the last night and losing. But later on, we will get to women's basketball and their 2 wins over the past week over Little Rock and who was it last night, Shemaria?
South Alabama.
Yeah, South Alabama. That's right. They went down to Mobile, beat South Alabama. And there's a lot to talk about with football in the latter half of the show as well with Sam. Another heartbreaking, I guess, coming up short for the Tiger football team. I guess it's not official just yet because there's still mathematical chances and that kind of thing. But again, we'll break that down later.
Don't hold on too much hope.
But so, guys, yesterday was Veterans Day, as you know, and the Memphis Tigers men's basketball team celebrated Veterans Day by going down to Oxford and taking on a team that for the longest time had a Confederate as its mascot for way too long before it finally got the memo in Ole Miss, losing to Rebels 83-77. This was the first of at least 6 projected opportunities that Memphis is going to have against top 35 opponents ranked in KenPom, as has been reiterated many, many times over the past few years, especially ever since Memphis has ramped up its non-conference schedule. The opportunities in the American to get quality wins are just, quite frankly, not there at all anymore, given, the departures of Houston and UCF, Cincinnati from the league, and just the weak overall infrastructure that the American Conference has right now, especially when it comes to men's basketball. If Memphis wants to build an NCAA tournament caliber resume to where they don't have to necessarily rely on winning the conference tournament each and every season just to get into the big dance, these are the games where you need to win at least some of them. And this was an Ole Miss team, in my opinion, that just isn't great. I mean, it's not bad, obviously. You have a great top 3 there, obviously, with Camerdine, AJ Storr, and Malik Dia. But beyond that, there's just not a ton to this team in my eyes. It's a group that I think is quite frankly going to get, beat up pretty good by the top tier of the SEC when we get to that part of the schedule. Point being, this was one of the real, actual, I think, sensible, gettable opportunities for Memphis to get a quality win, and they weren't able to do it, allowing a bunch of three-pointers, especially in the first half. But they were still able to keep up offensively for the majority of the second half, and perhaps they would have had the opportunity to win this game had they just defended the three-point line a little bit better, and maybe you could have gotten more contributions from an Aaron Bradshaw, a Zach Davis, two of the 3 or 4 guys who were supposed to be really like the stars of this team, or at least a couple of them, and they just have been a pretty big disappointment so far. With Bradshaw, you see him go scoreless in the first half, and takes out the first 6 minutes of the second half in favor of Simon Majak, who is barely supposed to sniff the court this year. And then Zach Davis was so ineffective in the first half that he basically sits out the entire second half. I'm of the belief, based off of what I was seeing, again, I was in Oxford covering this game. Probably should have mentioned that closer to the top. We'll talk more about my experience with that in a second. But Zach Davis was so ineffective in the first half that I think Penny basically planned to send him the entire second half, but then he had to play him after Julius Edford fouled out with about 5 minutes left. And I asked Penny after the game, like, why are they not being implemented more? What is preventing them from getting going? And I think he had a pretty interesting answer to that question. Let's take a look real quickly.
We just got to have high energy. That's all. I love both those young men. We just got to have high energy. We don't have the time to wait on anybody, so we're not waiting.
I think that's pretty telling, to be honest. Just the lack of energy for both Aaron Bradshaw, and especially on Zach Davis's part. I'll be honest, it's something I've been hearing about for a really long time, and I think we've seen that manifest itself so far this season. But moving on, I mean, Sam, you were probably watching from home last night. What were some of your observations about what you saw?
I think you brought up a great point. Even though it's just November, there's so few opportunities to get wins like these. So something I wanted to bounce off you and just ask you about is, we're talking about the big picture right now. Of course, we can get into what actually happened in the game, but do you think this loss, because the conference Ole Miss plays in, because honestly, I don't know how good of a team Ole Miss is. It's to be seen. They may be a good team, but do you think this is a loss that comes back and maybe not hurts Memphis's resume, but definitely doesn't help them, because you have so few opportunities to get wins like these, and just not getting them early really hurts. I would definitely say. And then, of course, just the foul trouble. I think you love to see that effort from the guys early. And like Penny talked about in his presser before, I think the San Francisco game, he was saying, I'm getting effort from the guys who shouldn't be given as much effort because they're the less talented ones, and then the more talented ones are given the minimal effort, which is just, I guess, a backwards way of thinking of things. Because I don't know if anyone so ever played sports, or anyone realizes the best leaders should be your best players, and I don't think that's what you're seeing with this Memphis team. But going forward, Roman, do you think this is a loss that just kind of comes back to haunt Memphis? It's not going to look bad on the resume, no matter what. But you think it kind of haunts them in March?
I severely doubt it's going to hurt Memphis, because I just think, given the league that Ole Miss plays in, it's going to be hard for them, I think, to stay out of the top 75 of the net, which is, of course, the threshold for being a quad one opponent on the road. So as long as Ole Miss stays in the top 75 in the net, none of these, losing these games are not necessarily going to hurt Memphis. What's going to hurt Memphis is the fact that they're not winning them. Right. They have to win at least some of them, right? And obviously there are some tough ones there. Like, you're probably not going to get Purdue in the Bombs. I think we can probably accept that. At Louisville is going to be extremely tough, but you also have Vanderbilt at home. You have Baylor at home. Mississippi State is not necessarily unbeatable. They looked that way against Memphis last year, but I can assure you they're not. There are some realistic opportunities still on the way. Not quite as gettable as Ole Miss, in my opinion, but still some realistic opportunities on the way to get quality victories and try to establish an at-large resume that's at least worthy of being like at least an 8 to 9 seed, right? I mean, that's still doable here. But there are definitely some concerns about whether Memphis has the infrastructure necessary to get that done, particularly in the front court. like especially with both Tariq Ingram and Hassan Abdul-Hakim still being sidelined with an injury for Abdul-Hakim and conditioning issues for Ingram. Shemaria, I know you were pretty busy with the South Alabama game last night, but
Yes, I was.
were you able to see anything out of this game or have any thoughts or takeaways there?
Just like you said, Memphis did the best that they could on the offensive side, but to see that the Rebels just had a hot shooting performance, 52% from the field and 61% from behind the arc, is crazy. They led the guard, I apologize in advance if I'm mispronouncing his name, but Ilias Camerdine, scoring 26 points, shooting 11 of 14. I do have a question related to Aaron Bradshaw specifically and his performances in the last 2 games. I saw people all up and down my feed saying that I'm starting to get worried. Just been underperforming. And I know in the last episode that we had, we talked about how Aaron Bradshaw was like a definitive start in all of this. Should fans be worried right now, or should they still just take a back seat? You know, they're just 2 games. They are just 2 games into the season. But all of that, what are your thoughts on Aaron Bradshaw and if the fans should react?
About Aaron Bradshaw specifically, yeah, I'd be worried. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. He looks, quite frankly, pretty weak from a physical standpoint. Mm-hmm. You just don't see him showing any real willingness to challenge his defenders from a physical standpoint down low. And that has unfortunately been a pretty consistent theme with him throughout his college career. It's what really gave him trouble at Kentucky. It's what gave him trouble at Ohio State. And unless he's able to develop more of a motor and develop more of a physical mentality, it's just not, I just don't foresee it working that well. Now, that said, once you get to the American part of the schedule, the talent gap is going to be so wide that you're likely going to see Aaron Bradshaw be able to put together some decent numbers at that point. But I'm really worried for him in the non-conference with, you know, going up against power conference caliber bigs basically every game. You know, he's tough to struggle at that level throughout his college career, and he definitely did so last night as well. Again, he went scoreless in the first. He finished with 1 rebound, man. He finished 1 rebound in 20 minutes of play. Simon Majak was able to get a rebound in 9 minutes, and he scored 2 more points.
Right, Roman. I think you'll have to. I think maybe to Shamaria's question, you have to, I guess, shift your expectation for Bradshaw, because you're right. He's physically just not there. But I mean, if you look back, you know, former 5-star, we know the Aaron Bradshaw story, right? But look back at State, look back at Kentucky. He can still run the floor. He can still run the rim. And honestly, we haven't seen that here at Memphis yet. But I think with these guards, as the chemistry continues to develop, I think Penny can still make something. Like it's not an all hope is lost situation. Certainly not. I think he's still the starting big on this team. He'll continue to be. But you're definitely going to need more out of him. And I think as his team continues to mesh and figure out how to play together, have him in more of a role of just a rim running big, which can be tough. But if he can rim run and contest shots, not having a rebounder there in the center is definitely tough. But I think you can still get something good out of him from that role.
Yeah, but I wasn't at this point before last night. But after seeing what I saw in Oxford last night, I'm honestly questioning of whether he needs to even start moving forward. Especially once Tariq Ingram and Hassan Abdul-Hakim get healthy and get in shape. Because Ashton Hardaway looked phenomenal. Like, he did.
That's what I wanted to get into next. Yeah, what did you think of his performance?
It's easily the best he's ever had in a Memphis uniform. I think we could start with that right at the top. Just incredible high-level shot making. I think that's what we need to take away from that the most. He wasn't just spotting up from 3 and staying in that mode like we saw him do pretty much all the time as a freshman. And it's particularly remarkable because he was less productive at St. Mary's last year than he was at Memphis as a freshman. So there's been some serious off the court, behind the scenes development from him. He looks bigger, he looks stronger, and he just looks more versatile. And it's just one game, so I'm not gonna start putting out all these massive expectations.
Mhm.
But if Ashton Hardaway can be a scorer like this consistently from the wing, I think that can solve a lot of your issues. And ideally, if he can solidify himself as a starting 3, Hassan Abdul-Hakim comes back, there's your starting 4. Tariq Ingram, he starts playing, he starts getting into groove. There's your starting 5. You roll with Doug and Sincere at the 1 and 2. You have CG3 and Quante Berry, Julius Thetford as your top 3 guys off the bench. I mean, I think you got something there. I really do. But obviously, there's still a lot of ball to be played, and we'll have to see if Ashton can really keep it up. But he did look great, and his performance, I think, really does put into question the spot of a guy like Bradshaw who's struggling, a guy like Davis who's struggling there.
Yeah. I wanted to get more into the guard play. I was really impressed. I think, especially early in the season on a lot of these Penny teams, you do see the turnovers. That's usually what sticks out. But only, what was it, 7 turnovers, I think, 20 assists? Yeah, that really impressed me just watching live. And then Curtis, obviously, he's had his turnover struggles just everywhere we've seen him. And then he controlled the ball well, 2 turnovers, 2 assists for him, 20 points, of course. I don't know if you're going to be relying on 20 Curtis Gibbons points every game, but I think it was just impressive the guard rotation that they had. That was one of the things that stuck out to me is for a Penny team this early in the year to not look frantic on offense. I was impressed by that for sure.
USA Health Insurance Reform. He makes this comparison here. I really hope Aaron Bradshaw is not another Jordan Brown. Shemaria, have any thoughts on that?
I remember a little bit of Jordan Brown. I'm hoping the same thing. I'm hoping that he is not another Jordan Brown. I have to agree with that statement.
I mean, we're 2 games into the season. I think that might be a little harsh. That might be a little harsh. But I think Memphis fans definitely have a little big man PTSD from Jordan Brown because coming into the season, there was a lot of reasons to be optimistic about Jordan Brown back in a couple of years ago. And I understand the concern, but I wouldn't go that far yet for sure.
Yeah. You had a lot more reasons, I think, going into the Jordan Brown thing to be optimistic than you had with Aaron Bradshaw. Quite frankly, I think you had a lot more questions with Aaron Bradshaw. So I don't think it's a mirror one-to-one situation, but it could be another highly touted, or at least previously highly touted big that comes in with high expectations, doesn't live up to them. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. And Aaron Bradshaw.
Kind of serious sentiments.
Yeah. Someone agrees with me here.
Yeah,
Aaron Bradshaw shouldn't start. And maybe I don't know if I'm necessarily saying that he shouldn't flat out start right now, but the spot is not as secure as I would have said it was.
Yeah.
Before last night, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I think you can still, no matter what his role is going forward, starter off the bench, I think Penny still needs Aaron Bradshaw. You still need that athletic big man who can run the floor. And I think you still want something out of him. We're 2 games into the season. We're talking about chalking it. We're nowhere close to that. I'm being dramatic. But I think Bradshaw can give this team a lot going forward. But that's not to say last night's performance wasn't without concern.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me at all?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, yeah. Someone commented that the sound went mute. So, all right. I think I fixed it.
Okay.
But what's next for the Memphis Tigers basketball team?
Well, they're going to play UNLV on Sunday. It's a game they absolutely have to win because UNLV just isn't good. The biggest story from that day should have little to do with the actual basketball game. Of course, UNLV is coached by Josh Pastner. You know, it should be for Memphis a welcome back kumbaya moment. He gets a nice applause, but then the Tigers go out and put a whooping on the Runnin' Rebels. That's what that game should be. And if it's anything other than that, you have even more issues moving forward. Like losing to UNLV would be be bad. I did want to note this as well. Yeah, Zach Davis committed 3 fouls in the final 4 minutes of the game. Here's what happened with Zach Davis. He does nothing, like literally nothing in the first half. So he gets benched for the second half. But then Thedford fouls out with 5 minutes left. So Penny has no choice but to bring Davis back into the game. And he just stinks up the joint, unfortunately. And it's 3 fouls in the last 4 minutes of action, puts Ole Miss at the line all the time, basically, in that stretch, right? Memphis finished with 25 fouls and almost only committed 15. Putting Ole Miss at the line very often, especially down the stretch. Kenny, I'm not saying Simon Majok should start. No one's saying that. No one's saying that. If I don't even know if you should bench Bradshaw immediately. If you do, the starter should be Silla until Ingram is ready, until Abdul Hakim is ready. But yeah, that addresses that. I think this comparison here from Pouncer Burner may have a bit more legs to it than the Jordan Brown, Aaron Bradshaw one. Zach Davis, the Jaquan Walton, again, not exactly 1-to-1, not exactly a mirroring concept, but I think it's closer.
I think if we're gonna play just the comparison game, it's so different season to season.
I don't know if I to.
Right. But I don't know if that's a segment of the show, but maybe going forward we can. Doug McDaniel, Tyrese Hunter. I don't know.
That's definitely not the same. No.
Right. So
not saying that Doug can't be as good as Tyrese was last year, but they're two different players.
Right. Certainly. Yeah. And at the end of the day, Roman, this is two different teams. And I think there's certainly room to be encouraged as a team in the offensive meshing, but I'd say overall the discouraging parts is the foul trouble, and then just do you have the guys? Do you have the front court guys to go make noise in the tournament? And I don't know the answer yet. Well, time will tell.
I believe you absolutely have the guy in the guys in the backcourt. You absolutely do. These backcourts, this backcourt can hang with, I think, anybody's. It's not as good as Purdue's, but it can hang with Purdue's. It can give them a challenge. But the talent gap between a lot of these power conference teams that Memphis is going to have to play and them, between them and the front court, that seems concerning. There are some legit concerns that Memphis may not have the horses there to really keep up with these big teams down low. And if you can't do that, your chances of doing well in the non-conference, they seem pretty scarce.
Right. Yeah.
We shall see what they do Sunday against UNLV. So,
yeah, but now we'll go to the other side of the hoops talk for now, because Shemaria, the women's basketball team, they played not once but twice since we last were on here last Wednesday. So, and we were busy with, I think, football on Friday when they and then we were pretty busy in Oxford last night with the men's basketball team with Ole Miss, women's basketball getting the win over Little Rock last Friday, South Alabama last night. So kind of give us the rundown from what you saw over those past couple of games and just your overall takeaways and thoughts on where the team is, especially after losing to Pine Bluff last week.
Yeah, after that Pine Bluff game, a lot of people, just wanted to really give up on the Memphis women's basketball team, and then for them to hit the road, the games after that loss, these ones would be huge, and that's exactly what they got. They faced Little Rock, defeated them in a game that Little Rock actually led majority. Then Shay Harris knocked down a 3. She is automatic from 3. I want to say that she is the best 3-point shooter on the team. She takes the most. Percentage might not be the best, but she does take the most in mix. She's like, the Tigers aren't that good of a 3-point shooting team, but majority of the shots that are falling in from 3, she's making them, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But Shay Harris, Deja Richmond, she had a good game too. She was the leading scorer in that Little Rock game. She had 16 points. and a defensive monster, or in a also, Deja Richmond is a monster on defense. But Shea Harris was the player that would seal that game. She made a 3 with 13 seconds left, defeating Little Rock. And then last night, while everybody was probably watching the Memphis Grizzlies, because they also played last night, and then the Memphis men's basketball team, I, of course, was watching the women take on South Alabama, a game that they would win to 76-68. Their defense has been what has really pushed them over the edge in the last 2 games. They forced 29 turnovers last night. Just relentless defensive pressure. And the 29 turnovers was actually the most forced turnovers that the Memphis Tigers had since November of 2023. They also held the Jaguars to 68 points. This is a team that coming into last night's matchup averaged 89 points per game. The 2 games played. They were also 2-0 coming into the matchup last night against the Tigers. Tamaya Smith had a beast performance. She had a career high of 24 points, 6 boards. She was a monster. Yeah, she had 24 points, 6 boards, 2 blocks, 2 steals. And then Shea Harris would come in second. She had 23 points and a season high of 4 threes. Wasn't the best shooting it actually was a pretty good shooting from behind the charity stripe. The Tigers, who have struggled with shooting free throws in the 2 games so far this season, performed really well with doing that last night. I don't want to say that that's what led to the win, but that was an advantage that they had that caused the win, basically. They went 23 from 34. Coming into last night matchup, they were shooting 37% from free throw. That is atrocious. One of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the nation. But all in all, they got the dubs. Last night, they were a beacon of light for the city of Memphis after the Grizzlies lost and the Memphis men's loss. But yeah, that's really
I think that's good. Beacon of light, because someone has to do the winning. There's so much to flesh through with this team because, of course, everyone was willing to give up on, fire Alex Simmons, fire everyone. Season's over after that loss to UAPB. And honestly, that's fair. Like, that was a very, very poor loss. But what's really impressed me about this team is what I say, or what I mean when I say there's so much to flesh through, is because, yeah, these were 2 honestly really impressive wins. And then in that loss to Vanderbilt in the St. Jude exhibition game, they fought. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you're seeing with this team. They're continuing to fight. They were trailing against Little Rock, because I actually had that on the side screen up in the press box while I was watching the football game last Friday, which of course we'll get into later. But they just fought. They were trailing the whole time against South Alabama. They did it again. They fought. And that's what's just impressed me about this team. And there's so much you still don't know. And you're right. No one on this team can shoot except Shea. No one. They're like if you're playing against the Memphis women's basketball team, guard Shea from 3 and let anyone else shoot it. And that might be disrespectful, but it's what I've seen so far. And overall, I think you're encouraged just because they're forcing turnovers but at the end of the day, this offense is going to have to come together. What I really struggle with on this offense is they run a lot of those elbow high-low actions. They run through their posts, yet the posts aren't the best player on this team. I think once they continue to play more through Shea, and honestly, I don't know what we're going to see from Jordan Hunter or Corey Allen. They haven't broken out yet, but I think they're talented. Yeah. They might. But I think this team is going to continue to see its identity of playing through the guards, because these bigs just can't demand an offense. And that's how Alex Simmons really wants to play. That's how she played at Tennessee. I actually dove into the Alex Simmons 2008-2009 Tennessee women's basketball film, and she was running the high-low with Candace Parker. And of course that's going to work because you're running the high-low with Candace Parker, but this team doesn't have the personnel for that. And I think it's a very similar story to the men's, where you have the guards. I'm really impressed with Shea. And then Deja Richmond, of course. I think that's your 1 and 2, Deja and Shea. And you can run an offense through them. You can run a team through them. I would say that's where I'm at. Roman, do you have any thoughts on, I guess, any notes? I'm sure you were locked in Oxford, but do you have any notes from just box score watching?
It was hard to be locked in on the men's game. in Oxford because it was honestly one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had covering a game. Like it was terrible because first off, they gave us these vouchers to go get a meal, but we couldn't go to Raising Cane's, we couldn't go to Steak and Shake, we couldn't go to any of the good places that everyone knows.
Right.
We were stuck going to what they call the Rebel Grill, which is the generic, I guess, concessions venue or whatever. But I'm like, cool, I'll make the best of it. I'll go get a pizza, right? Because
Nice.
I like pizza. But I don't know how well the camera will be able to pick this up. I tried to get this to work.
Roman.
Here's the pizza they gave me.
Ah.
Here's the pizza.
Fire everyone. Fire everyone.
It didn't even
That's good,
taste that
Roman.
great, man.
I'm glad you documented it for the good people listening to On Beat. If you're audio only listeners, I'm sorry. Roman just showed a very crazy looking pizza.
Yeah.
So no, if you are ever at the pavilion, I would not recommend the pizza unless you want to go hungry for the entire night. So
Right.
There's that, and then the Wi-Fi just didn't work. It didn't.
That'll do it.
Well, the Wi-Fi started working after the game was over, so at least I was
Nice.
able to write. But in the first half, Wi-Fi didn't work at all, so I wasn't able to tweet, wasn't able to keep up with stats, wasn't able to do anything. And then I finally get my phone's hotspot to work in the second half. So we got by there. The SE
Nice.
the commentary team said the pizza looked good. No way.
Fake news. Fake
No
news.
way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Roman.
Hey, lies.
I know you had a tough time down in Oxford, but did you get to at least box score watch this Memphis women's team?
Yeah.
Did you notice anything?
No, I mean, I just think it's impressive, I think, for a team to suffer, quite frankly, an embarrassing loss the way they did
Right.
against Pine Bluff. To go from that to winning on the road at all. Because I think after you lose a game like that, any expectations you have go out the window, right?
Yeah.
It's you're going into the unknown there. So I think for Alex and this team to go to 2 hostile environments in a row, get 2 wins there. I know the Little Rock game got a little dicey, needed the game winner pretty much at the buzzer to win that. But then you beat South Alabama pretty decisively. So I think it does show this team may not be great. They may struggle to finish at the top half of the American this year. And they may indeed struggle with some of the tougher games that they have coming up in the non-conference because they got to play Ole Miss this week, right? Got to play Ole Miss this week. Got to play Florida later on a neutral floor. Got to play St. John's. Like, it's not going to be easy for this team going forward for sure. You could very well still walk out of non-conference with an under 500 record, and you could still finish that way. But I think this team did show that it can be at least somewhat competitive. It's not going to be the worst team in college basketball, right? They're not completely incompetent, and they are more capable than what their first game definitely showed there.
Right. I would definitely say give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. That first game, you're 100% right. Honestly, an embarrassing loss. That's hard, but you're right. I like your point where it's impressive to be able to bounce back from that. And you don't know how it's going to look in the American. Of course, we always like to look forward to conference play. But I will say one note is South Alabama smoked UAB. Now, UAB also is a very good American conference team. But in transitive property, we don't know what that means. But I think it's a nice feather in the cap that you're able to beat a team someone in your conference got smoked by, because last year Memphis just really didn't compete well in the conference. So you're hoping they can this year.
I agree. They take on Ball State Saturday. Time change was originally 2 p.m. and is now 12 noon. Because the Memphis women's soccer team will be hosting Illinois that night. So shout out to the Memphis women's soccer team. But they'll be taking on Ball State. And Ball State is tough. They made the NCAA tournament last year. They've had a good
last year.
Yeah, they did. They beat us last year too. Last time we beat them was in 23 in the WNIT. But Ball State is having a terrific, a great start to this season. Like I said, they made the NCAA tournament last year. So this will be a game that'll I think can really test it to see how they'll do against tough opponents. But like Sam said, this is a team that doesn't I don't want to say quit. I don't think that they quit. That Vanderbilt game, when they were able to get it within 5 against Vanderbilt, yeah, that showed hustle, that showed grind. So we'll see how it goes Saturday.
So Shemaria, after seeing what we've seen from this team so far, the loss to Pine Bluff, the bounce back with these 2 wins here. So we've seen 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously far from the full picture, but it's a decent sample size at this point. So based off of what you've observed, and what you're hearing covering this team, what would be the benchmark for what you would consider a bounce back season, a success compared to last year, and something that could perhaps build momentum in Alex Simmons' tenure, because she hasn't had much so far?
I think that'll be determined with how they do in conference play. If they play way better, then I guess because the expectations are super low, understandably so by the fans. I don't want to say just simply having a better record than last season, but I think I'll say it'll. Because their next couple of games are going to are tough. You got Ball State, Ole Miss after that. Realistically, they probably lose both. But if they somehow manage to get a win out of one of those games, I think that'll be huge. And also, we'll have to see what happens in conference play.
Yeah. Honestly, I think you need a winning record. I know that's a lot to ask.
Yeah,
and
right.
I don't know what this team is, but I think for the amount of resources this team has, especially compared to the rest of the conference, I think it's fair for Ed Scott, who Alex Simmons wasn't even Ed Scott's hire, but I think it's fair for him to say, "Hey, Alex, winning record, or we're going to have to reevaluate." And that might be where they're at. It might not be, but I think winning record isn't unfair to expect.
Isn't too much to ask for.
Yeah, I mean, you got football obviously at the top of the revenue sharing pool. Men's basketball second, but women's basketball is third there, right? Yeah. And I think it's pretty substantial.
It is.
Like at Memphis, because you have a women's soccer program that Shemaria mentioned earlier that is killing it. They're undefeated. They're undefeated. Alex Simmons is getting more money than Brooks Monaghan right now. Alex Simmons is getting more money than Matt Reiser at a baseball program that's in the middle of SEC country, where baseball is still maybe not king, but it's secondary in terms of fan interest behind football. Mm-hmm. Like, and you would think basketball's up there in the SEC, but the SEC baseball, there's a lot more legacy behind that. Like, we are in a region where, college baseball is a pretty prominent thing, and you're getting more money than them. You're getting more money with women's basketball than programs at the University of Memphis that have, quite frankly, been a lot more successful over the past several decades. The time is now for Alex Simmons to get this done. The time is now to show some improvement, because if you can't, like Sam said, it may be time to reevaluate and see where the future of the program needs to go from here. Before we move on, let's go over, I guess, our performers of the week for both men's and women's basketball. Name one player, I guess, for each of us from both teams that stood out to you this week.
Well,
go ahead, Shemar. Go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, well, I first. I apologize.
Player that stood out in the all 3 games, Shay Harris. If I'm not mistaken, she leads the team in points. Like I said, the best 3-point shooter on the team. She's had double digits in every single game so far this season. She's been the go-to when they need a bucket. So I'm definitely going with Shay Harris.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, for the women's side, I'm going to go. I'll be quick. Is Deja Richmond? She had a tough shooting performance against South Alabama, but just watching her out there, she's honestly the most, or maybe second most behind Shay, impactful player on the court. She's so long, so athletic, can get to the rack at will, super quick first step. Can't really shoot very well. Still working on that mid-range, but I think she can get to the rack and play defense. And when she's on the court, good things happen for that team. And I talked about him earlier, but I was impressed with Curtis. I was impressed with CG3. I think I was discouraged by what I had seen in the preseason performance, and he came out, dropped 20 points, was fairly efficient. He looked comfortable against a good athletic team, and that's kind of all you're looking for from him at this point in the season from the local kid. And he looked good. Those are my two performers.
Yeah, Shemaria, before I go, did you have anyone for the men's side?
For the men's, no, I don't.
No standouts. No player on the men's basketball team stood out for Shemaria this week. They're all slow.
She was busy. She was busy in South Alabama.
She was busy.
If I could choose, it would be Doug, but I think that's kind of. I mean,
Doug played well though. It could be Doug.
Yeah,
Doug played well.
Doug looked good,
especially against Ole Miss.
Yeah,
Doug's my guy.
Doug led Memphis with 7 rebounds last night. That was a team high. He had 7.
Yeah, is that an Aaron Bradshaw stat or a McDaniel stat?
7 rebounds.
That might be a Bradshaw stat.
Well, for me, on the women's side, I also have to go with Shea Harris. You went into the season with the women's basketball team where you had no idea who was going to be the leader. You had zero idea who was going to be the star. I mean, Jordan Hunter and Corey Allen were probably the biggest names, but even them didn't particularly stand out amongst the pack. And I think it's impressive that Shea Harris has been able to do that and kind of separate herself there, because you got to have a go-to option. You got to have someone who can just go score a bucket for you at will. And it appears that Shea Harris can at least do that to a degree. So I definitely had to point out for her contributions this week. Got to shout out Brooklyn Charlo as well for the game winner against Little Rock. On the men's side, I'm going to go Sincere Parker. I know he didn't really lead the team in either game. Quante Berry was the big standout against San Francisco. Curtis and Ashton were the big standouts against Ole Miss. But with what we saw with Sincere Parker on the court, I think it's pretty clear that he is the best player this team has, at least for me. His ability to just create scoring opportunities is something that I think is pretty rare, right? And the thing with him going into the season was if he can get starter level minutes, like which he hasn't really gotten at St. Louis, didn't really get in McNeese State last year, you could perhaps get starter level production and perhaps beyond that, perhaps even better. And I think that's we saw glimpses of that. We saw flashes. If they can get the ball to him more, and more importantly, if Sincere can start to adapt the mentality of, I'm not just a guy, like I can be the guy on this team. I have the talent, I have the capability and the infrastructure to do that with a point guard in Doug who clearly likes to play make. He clearly likes to facilitate. I mean, yeah, he can be a scorer, but Doug certainly has an aptitude for getting assists out there. You have other willing passers. And Sincere, he can play make a little bit, but he's a bucket getter, man. He's a scorer. And if he can truly embrace that with what Penny has been able to do with other bucket-getting guards like him in the past, I think you could really see a pretty special season there. But we're going to move on now. When we come back, it's going to get interesting. We're going to be talking football. They fall short, assumingly, once again, of the American Conference title game. What's next? We'll discuss that with Sam, Shemaria, and myself more when we return.
And whatever, I get it. It's year 7. We've heard it a lot, but literally everything is always the same. It's the same quotes after we lose a game. It's the same quotes after we win a game. It's the same quotes on his coach's show when somebody's questionable injury-wise. Oh, well, they need to prepare for 3 quarterbacks. We're probably going to play all 3 of them. It's the same freaking every time I see a hype video from the locker room and he's giving a pregame speech, it's the same damn pregame speech. For 60 minutes, relentless effort, do your job. It's the same thing every time. freaking Chat GPT a hype speech or some shit. I'm so sick of hearing the same stuff. We should have got rid of him 3 years ago.
Whoa.
I don't know about that.
Whoa.
I'm not going to go there.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with your hosts, Trey Lasley and TJ Willis, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
We're back here on Beat with BCM, Roman Cleary, Shemaria Wiseman, Sam Shoemaker joining the program for the very first time. And guys, we can't delay it any longer. It's time to get to it. Memphis football takes its second loss of the regular season against Tulane to fall to 8-2 on the year, second American Conference loss. And because it lost to a UAB team a few weeks ago that had just fired its head coach, was starting a quarterback who had never played a snap of college football, Memphis is now likely to miss the American Conference title game once again for the 6th consecutive season under Ryan Silverfield, and with that, miss the college football playoff once again. Silverfield obviously talked with reporters after the game was over and described the general emotions and everything that Memphis is feeling after a tough loss like that. Let's take a look.
Pissed. Frustrated, anger, and those are the only emotions I want them to feel. There should be disappointment. And here's what I told him, Jonah. I said, listen, I want you to feel this way. I want us to never feel this way again. This shouldn't feel good, and nobody should be smiling. No one should have any type of emotion of joy. But here's what I did tell them. I said they're a special group of young men. I firmly believe that, Jonah. I believe that the group of 118 guys that we have, they're special. They're men that love this program. They're men that love each other. They're men that care. They work so hard. I wish that the whole country got to see how much this place means to them, how much they enjoy playing together, what it means to them to wear that Memphis logo on the front of their chests, and how proud they are of the fans that showed up tonight. And they're frustrated because we didn't go out and execute at the level we wanted to. But I'm proud of the way they fight. I'm proud of the way they believe. And that's something that they can hang their hat on. There's no moral victories by any stretch of the imagination. I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated, and so is the entire locker room. But they know that belief that they had, that fight that showed up in the second half, we just need to see more of it. We need to see it every single day, and we got to find ways to execute at a higher level.
Sam, you were there last night covering what I believe was your last assignment for the Daily Memphian. So I guess just first off, does the rest of the season even matter at this point? I guess we could start there.
That's a tough question. The rest of the season certainly matters. I mean, I think it's what pisses so many fans off is double-digit wins, and that's what Silverfield loves to hang his hat on. But it does mean something, and you're going to play East Carolina next week, and guess what? East Carolina is a really good team, and then you get to host Navy on Thanksgiving. Guess what? That's a really good team. So it's going to be a grind to even get to 10 wins for this Memphis team, which is certainly not something you want to see after a 6-0 start. But I think playing that Silverfield video is really good to set up the rest of what this segment is, because it encapsulates so much frustration that Tigers fans feel. Because listen, Roman, you said it, haven't made the conference championship in 6 years and under Ryan Silverfield, but in the previous 2, they won it. And there's a precedent that was set. And yeah, sure, Silverfield has gotten his guys here, and we can give them all the credit, but we've had that conversation. You know what I mean? Now the conversation turns to, Coach, why can't you get it done? And it was the same rinse and repeat answer. It was a special group of a special group of men that play so hard, that are super proud of their university, and he really believes in them. And that's good. Those are all things you need to have a good team. But at the end of the day, if you don't win, it doesn't matter. And I think that's what's going on here for the University of Memphis football is winning cures all. And listen, every problem within the program, every complaint at Ryan Silverfield, every complaint at anyone in the program, if this team wins the conference, all of it goes away, because all you have to do is win. There's no disappointment in winning, right? And I think at the end of the day, you can argue. There's so many different sides of, ooh, should Silverfield this, should Silverfield that, but at the end of the day, they're not winning. Like the standard has been set, and that's frustrating. And it was funny. Silverfield kind of answered his own question. He said there are no moral victories, yet he gave himself like 5 moral victories in one little excerpt. So I don't know. There's frustration, but yeah, there's still something definitely to play for. 10 wins is still impressive, no matter what you think about what else happened.
Yeah, no. 10 wins, it is impressive, but I think it's also fair to say that winning 10 games in college football now is not what it was even 5 years ago.
Right.
I think the institution of the 12-team college football playoff specifically has changed the game completely.
100%.
Like for power conference schools, 9-3 is the new 11-1. Just for example, right? Like the standard has changed so much with that alone. And then with Memphis's case specifically, it is, it's widely known that Memphis is the highest funded football program in the G5. I know there have been some reports that South Florida apparently has a more expensive roster this season, but generally speaking, overall, Memphis football stands above everyone else with more money than anyone else in the G5 in both football and men's basketball, right? Men's basketball is holding up their end of the bargain. They've won 2 of the last 3 American Conference tournaments. They won the regular season championship last year. Football, the success and the titles, it's just not there. Obviously, the college football playoff would have been cool, right? It would have been. But what really matters is winning the American title. That's the biggest goal at the end of the day, and you fall short year after year after year, and you fall short because of the same things. You make the same mistakes. You have the same shortcomings. It's always losing a game you're not supposed to lose. It's always they can't rush the passer. It's always the lack of complementary football. Like you just see the same kind of, again, shortcomings and disappointments. They're losing in the same ways. And that is what is really eyeballing to me. If this were happening in different ways, if there was just different random things popping up year after year, I think the lack of success and the lack of conference titles would be a little bit more excusable. But because the same things keep happening, I think that's where the frustration definitely stems. Shemaria, it looks like you had a thought there.
Yeah, I know that this was still a good season so far for the Tigers in total, stuff like that. But shout out to Tigers Untapped. I thought that clip was really funny. I saw it on TikTok.
That was.
What does this mean? Like, if they do fall to ECU and Navy, like, what does this potentially mean for Coach Silverfield? Sam.
I mean, 2 things can be true at once. He talked about how hard his team fights. And they fought really hard, but guess what they had to fight back from being unprepared. Retzloff walked down the field. I think it was 14 of 15, one of the best, certainly the best half of his career, and it was almost the best game of his career in one half. And I think the lack of preparedness in these games that mean so much, is just so frustrating. It's just really hard to deal with. And listen, I'm not going to make a comment. I don't have a blazing hot take on fire Silverfield, keep Silverfield. I don't know what the answer is there, because at the end, it goes back to, guess what? Two things can be true at once. Memphis can win a lot of games and still disappoint in big games. And like, kind of like the Simmons thing, it's very different, of course, but Silverfield wasn't Ed Scott's fire. I mean, Ed Scott's hire. And Ed Scott, we've only seen him here for just over a year. I don't know I don't know how willing he is to make those hard decisions. But at the end of the day, he also wants to win, and winning is the goal. And if Silverfield can't get it done, if you finish the season 8-4, that's disappointing. And it means the guy stopped fighting. It means the guy stopped buying in or being all in. And that's the whole appeal with Ryan Silverfield, is he has this floor of being all in.
But is the all in mentality real if you keep on showing up unprepared for your opponents?
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's a good question.
Like if you keep on having the same shortcomings year after year. I know because of the portal, it's with new players, but the staff has stayed the exact same. It's not like with basketball where you're seeing new assistant coaches every year. Like Tim Cramsey has been the offensive coordinator of this team for what, 3-4 seasons now? Jordan Hankins is in year 2 as the DC. And he was the linebackers coach before that. And the reason why they fell behind by so much against Tulane is not has little to do with the personnel. It's just they just got out schemed. They got out coached brutally. Like, part of being a defensive coordinator is putting your defenders in position to succeed against the high-powered offenses that we see in both college football and the NFL today. That is the biggest part of it. It's not even necessarily getting, defenses to shut offenses down, because it's just not as realistic to do today as it used to be. It's putting them in position to succeed. And that's just not what Memphis did against the Tulane offense. Just leaving guys one-on-one, the lack of a pass rush. You're just not seeing enough there from a strategic and a coaching perspective to get it done. And I'm not saying the answer is necessarily firing Silverfield either. I don't know if we're there, because again, you could be on the path to winning 10 games, third consecutive year. But, things are certainly the more and more this keeps happening, and the longer and longer it takes for Memphis to get back to the conference title game, not even win it, just make an appearance. I think this question is only going to continue to, happen and get asked even more. But what's scary for Memphis now is that Brendan Lewis went out, for good, towards the end of the Tulane game. And it didn't have to be this way, man. You could have pulled him when you were up by 30 against Rice. But you kept running him. You kept playing him. Even after he went out before, he hobbles off the field. You bring him back in. Then he really hurts his ankle on that scramble against Rice. He's hobbled the entire game against Tulane. He has to come out for Arrington Maiden. And Maiden missed that 4th down ball to Cortez Bram. That's an NFL caliber adjustment that Bram had to make there. If that's Justin Jefferson, yeah, sure, make the catch. But it's Cortez Bram, a 7th-year college football receiver. You can't make him to adjust. You can't expect him to adjust to that ball. So
I disagree. I think that was a good ball. I think that was right where it needed to be. It was a tough catch. It was a tough catch. Yeah, I mean, if it hits you in the helmet, you should catch it. That's my blazing hot take.
I mean, I don't know. The way that ball was thrown, I think that's an NFL caliber adjustment. That maybe just
also, I don't know if Belu makes a better throw there. I don't know if that was the difference in that moment.
And also, you wouldn't have even been in that situation to begin with if not for the pre-snap penalties, right? That's plagued Memphis a ton this year. Just the pre-snap penalties, the false starts over and over again. Defensively, just guarding the middle of the field. It was a bigger problem earlier in the season, but it's still a problem now. And again, the one consistent thing about defense under Silverfield is that they just can't rush the passer. They've never had a Bryce Huff type pass rusher. They've never had a Jackson Dillon type pass rusher. The best they've had is maybe Jalen Allen, and he was the second, the second or third pass rusher on a good team. That was his caliber.
Yeah.
So
I like the point you made about the putting guys in positions to succeed, because my hot take is I think Cramsey with his RPO offense, I really like Cramsey. I think he has great stuff. And Hankins, maybe to a lesser degree, he has great schemes. He has a lot, but he doesn't put his guys in positions to succeed. He's running Kamari Wilson, who might run a 4.7 40 at the top of this defense in a one high look. He's not going to be able to get there. And I think you made a really good point. These coaches aren't bad coaches, but if you're not putting guys in positions to succeed, you're not setting up for wins. Roman?
Yeah. So final 2 games, Lewis is banged up. Like,
Yeah.
Sam, I don't know what you've been hearing, but what are Lewis's chances of getting back on the field? Because if he's not, I don't like Memphis' chances against East Carolina and Navy personally.
I mean, at this point, y'all know as much as I do, or at least publicly, but he's played through injury before. And this was always the concern with B-Lou. It was, you saw him from the beginning of the season. He just ran. He ran too much. He took hits. And that's part of his game. What's good about Brendan Lewis is he knows his arm talent. He knows he's not an elite arm talent. I think a lot of college quarterbacks get so messed up in, I got to make this throw. I got to make this throw. B-Lou, he'll just take off and go because he knows there are some throws he can't make. And that's what makes him a good quarterback. Because he's smart. He's been playing college football for 6 years. You would hope that your 24-year-old quarterback can read a defense, and he can. But he's tough. And I think if there's any quarterback that would have the injury that would be able to go against East Carolina, it's Brendan Lewis. That's so. I don't have any inside sources on this one. Certainly, we're out at practice, but I think I would expect him to be a go.
Okay.
Well, we'll see what happens when Memphis retakes the field. Again, they're not mathematically eliminated from American Conference contention. Some things would have to happen, but until they're officially eliminated, I suppose they need to keep winning. They need to keep trying, and it's going to be tough at East Carolina, especially if Brendan Lewis is not able to go, or if he's hobbled like he was against Tulane, and then you have Navy on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And you're facing a quarterback in Blake Horvath that tore you up last year. And it's certainly scary to go up against that again, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Can Memphis win these last 2 games and hope for a miracle and get back into the conference title game? Or are they going back to the Boca Raton Bowl or the Birmingham Bowl or something like that?
Scooter's Coffee Bowl.
Yep, Scooter's Coffee Bowl. Maybe even the Hawaii Bowl. Who knows?
That'll be fun. Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But we're running out of time here on this second episode, the second edition of On Beat with BCM. Again, with men's basketball, they're taking on UNLV inside FedEx Forum this weekend. Yours truly will be there covering that. Women's basketball, I believe, is back at home against Ball State and Ole Miss over the next week. And football, as we just mentioned, is going to Greenfield to take on East Carolina. But thank you guys so much for watching this one. Thank you so much to Sam for joining us for the very first time, and Shemaria for providing your insight on the Lady Tigers, as always. But for them and everyone here at Bluff City Media, this is Roman Cleary signing out. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you back here next week, Wednesday night at 7 o'clock.
Thank you for listening to this episode of On Beat with BCM. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to the Bluff City Media YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.
I thought that went.
Thank you for listening to this episode of On Beat with BCM. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to the Bluff City Media YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.